My name is Paul Citrin. For 18 years, I was the rabbi here in Albuquerque at Congregation Albert from 1978 through 1996. I am, however, a third-generation native of Los Angeles, California. I attended UCLA as an undergraduate majoring in history, and then continued for my rabbinic degree and Master of Arts of Hebrew Letters at the Hebrew Union College, first at the Los Angeles branch, and then continuing on at the Cincinnati campus. Well, I think prior to asking why I chose the Congregational Rabbinate is the question, why the Rabbinate? My father in Los Angeles established a valet parking business for hotels and restaurants. He was only in it for 60 years. And occasionally in my teens, I would work for him parking cars, but frankly, I just couldn't see a greater meaning or purpose to that. I always loved Jewish studies. I always loved working with people. And as a result of that, the rabbinate, and specifically the Congregational Rabbinate, attracted me. And I have always believed that the cutting edge of the development of Judaism is in congregational life, where the people are. That's not to say that the academic world isn't important. It is. But what the people do and what they need is really the motivator, I think, for rabbis. When we speak broadly of changes, generational changes in Reform Judaism, first there's a personal side. I grew up in Los Angeles with a rabbi who was ordained at a Reform institution, but came from an Orthodox background. The result of that was my experience of Reform Judaism was rather traditional. When I came to Albuquerque, I found that my predecessor came from a classical Reform background where Hebrew was minimized, the idea of Jewish peoplehood was minimized, and by and large Judaism was viewed as an adult religion, not something so much for children. When I came to Albuquerque, it was certainly my hope to help Congregation Albert catch up with what was going on around the country in terms of bringing more tradition and more peoplehood and more Hebrew into congregational life. I also am a very committed Zionist and wanted to bring Israel awareness and consciousness into the life of the congregation. Rabbi Shore was always an ardent teacher of Bible, and he had many followers. It was my desire to expand the adult education program at the congregation and to expand the education for children from 1 day a week to 2 days a week. Rabbi Shore had been very involved on a personal basis with various issues of social justice, but I believed that the congregation also needed to provide a vehicle for its members to make their voices heard and to be activists on community issues. So I would say Israel, education, and social justice were certainly on my agenda. Well, I'm sure that Rabbi Shore had personal involvements with clergy of other faiths, but when I came, there wasn't much on a communal basis as far as I could tell. Three things happened during my tenure at Congregation Albert. We began with Trinity United Methodist Church, and later to be joined by Monte Vista Disciples of Christ to hold an annual interfaith Thanksgiving ceremony, service I should say, with the three combined choirs involved. Very uplifting, wonderful, and certainly American. Secondly, I was privileged to be a co-founder with Father Ernest Filardo in the Jewish Catholic Dialogue of Albuquerque, whose main function was to educate the two communities about their ideas and values. And twice a year we held programs for the general community and for Jewish and Catholic educators. And I'm proud to say that the dialogue has been expanded as an interfaith dialogue, including Protestants and Muslims, and continues on to this day. And the third thing is the Martin Luther King Multicultural Celebration, in which I was an early board member, which continues to this day, and I am now back on the board, that among other things raises scholarship money for minority students for college. It was always our intention, ultimately, to come back to Albuquerque for retirement for several reasons. First, we have a community of very dear friends in Albuquerque that we made over many years. Secondly, my wife Susan is a Jewish native of Albuquerque, and she has family here. And thirdly, but most importantly, we have 2 of our 4 children and 4 of our 8 grandchildren in Albuquerque, and we know in any case this is a great place to live. Well, the Jewish community has always experienced growth, but I would say it was kind of a drip, drip, drip process. We are, I believe, about 1% of the Albuquerque community, and there's always been an influx of people who are here, not merely for retirement, but for professional and academic reasons as well. Every time we get people coming from the West Coast, the Midwest, or the East Coast, this broadens the view for the institutions, the Jewish institutions of Albuquerque, whether we're talking of Federation or the synagogues or the JCC. So we are enriched by that growth. By the same token, we have multi-generational families here who bring with them a communal and institutional memory that also serves as an anchor for the new and growing community.